Good morning, everybody, and welcome live. We are live on a Saturday, which is super rare anymore that we're live on a Saturday morning, but able to come to Magic Kingdom this morning for a really cool stream, something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and really excited that we're able to make it happen today. So welcome to everyone from all over joining us live. If you're watching back on the replay, we're usually live on Thursdays, but again, a special stream today. You guys know from the title what we're here to do. But we had the cool opportunity back during the pandemic to do, we were doing all these home streams, and we got the opportunity to interview Disney Legend Tom Nabbe, and it was so awesome to hear his stories and hear about his amazing career. Such a long career with the Walt Disney Company, and just, you know me guys, I love all the history, and there were so many cool stories that I had never heard before, and that a lot of people have probably never heard unless you've heard Tom tell them. And it was so much fun. Had a great time. And after the parks reopened, I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, wouldn't it be cool to go walk around Magic Kingdom with Tom and hear some of those stories and relate it back to kind of what we're seeing in the parks? And I had reached out to Tom, and he's like, yeah, let's do it. Like, very graciously, let's do it, and let's go have fun in the park. So that is what we're here to do today, and I'm so excited, and gonna just introduce you right now to Mr. Tom Nabbe, Disney Legend Tom Nabbe. Tom, it's good to see you.
Oh, yeah, great to see you too, Cory.
And guys, with being in the park today and stuff and walking around, I just want to make sure the most important thing is that you can hear Tom. So we'll stay close to the camera, and you guys just let us know if for some reason you can't hear him, and we'll try and move things around and make it better. But Tom, thank you so much for joining me in the park today.
Well, yeah, I'm going to hopefully enjoy this trip as much as you do. Yeah, we're at the Magic Kingdom in front of the Forum Mickey. I thought we'd start here and sort of back up many years long before you were born to the late 50s, early 60s at Disneyland. And the reason being is Disneyland was the forerunner of Walt Disney World, and I've always considered Disneyland Walt's park and Walt Disney World more Roy's park. So if we were in this same situation at Disneyland before the California Adventure in the late 50s, we'd be looking out at the ticket booths and the parking lot. Okay, and then in turn, as things grew up around Disneyland, we'd be looking at hotels and motels and all sorts of intrusions in it. And Walt put the berm in Disneyland to sort of isolate people, and in turn, as you went through the tunnel underneath the train station, you're making that transition. And he really liked that. And when he started dreaming of Walt Disney World, he wanted a greater transition. And that transition was to move the parking lot farther away, and in order to transport guests in uniqueness and start that themed magic experience of being transported to Walt Disney World via the monorail. And we did have trams and some buses in the beginning, and the ferry boats were an addition in that first year afterwards. One ferry boat is worth about 6 monorails. So we opened the park up and added that. Now there's some disadvantages to that too. Is on a daily basis, everybody that comes in has got to be moved out. At Disneyland, you could just walk out the gate and go get on a tram or walk back to your car.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't do that at Walt Disney World. Well, you can, but it'd take you a long time to do it. You can't do that at Walt Disney World. Okay, so there were some challenges in operating the transportation system. And when Walt Disney World opened in 1971, I was the supervisor on the monorail system. And a typical day was to be at the ticket and transportation system in the morning for about 4 hours, working crowd control. And then in turn go to the office for a couple hours, try to get paperwork done, and then come back out to the Magic Kingdom station and work crowd control until the park was clear. And what we would do about 4 o'clock, we would take and get with the duty manager and figure out what the in-park attendance was. And then we'd figure out how many monorails we had, and how many trams we had, and how many buses we had, and how many Osceola steamboats we had, and steam launches, and add that all together as a theoretical capacity to get people out, and then find out how many people were in the park. And a lot of times that exceeded the capacity or theoretical capacity of transportation. So about 4:30, there'd be an announcement made that due to the popularity, that the Magic Kingdom was going to stay open another hour or 2 hours, depending upon how many people were in the park, and that's where the slow close came from. So, in turn, there was a major learning curve on how to transport and get people in and out of the park.
Sure.
In the early 70s. Transportation got caught up pretty much by the end of that first year, going into the second year, when we got 3 ferries going. That made a big difference in moving people in and out of the park.
So you were here before the opening of the monorail, right? You were here before the monorail officially opened.
Oh yeah, I relocated to Florida in January of 1971, and watched the monorails get put together at Marietta, and then transported over here, put together. All the beamways that have the curved bottom on them, those were transported here from Tacoma, Washington by rail, and were offloaded in Taft. One of those monorail stories is during that winter, the train turned right and the monorail beams went straight ahead.
Oh no!
And we lost the 2 110-foot beams. We were on the north end of the Contemporary Hotel, and we couldn't find them because of the snow.
Wow!
And weren't sure if they were still in condition, so they had to recast those. So it slowed down a little bit on closing the monorail loop up, but we were able to shuttle trains until those beams got in place and that type of thing. So right here, as we look, it's almost identical to Disneyland. If you look over here to the left, it's the newsstand, okay? And at Disneyland, the newsstand was actually a newsstand. It had all the newspapers from Orange County, Los Angeles County, San Diego County, and some of the national papers, Wall Street Journal and New York Times. And I worked for Joe and Ray Ahmet, who were lessees at Disneyland, had the Castle News concession, and I was a newspaper boy. So the first year of my employment, I was an independent contractor, and I sold newspapers. Joe and Ray got 7 cents, and I got 3 cents for a 10-cent paper. Okay, and the deal was if you sold 100 papers outside the park to the guests waiting to get in, you in turn, they'd let you in the park, and you could continue to sell newspapers.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So what I thought we'd do is make that transition now, get up and walk through the tunnel and get in on Main Street, and probably stop somewhere right around in front of the Emporium.
Sounds good.
Sound?
Sounds good. And guys, this morning as you're watching the stream and you're hearing some of Tom's stories, if you're hearing it for the first time, Tom has a book, and his book is fantastic. I have it, and I know there's many of you that have it from when we did an interview with Tom previously. But if you do not have Tom's book, I would highly encourage you to go purchase it, and you can do so here. Hold on, I think we're having a little lag issue. All right, there we go. So you can.
International people come and go to Amazon and buy it on Amazon.
Okay, got it. So if you want to buy a book and you're in the States, buy them from the link that I have pinned in the chat, and get Tom's book, and he will personalize it to you. You can get it personalized right through there. If you're international and you want Tom's book, go buy it on Amazon. That's going to be your best option if you're international. So I know some of you are tuning in today from the UK. Go buy the book over there. But yes, get the book however you can. It's a fantastic book. Some of these stories in much more detail, and some of them are unbelievable. Like, I read them and I get like goosebumps reading them because, you know, I'm so into all of the history here at Disney, and there's so much to those stories. So go check them out. And
yeah, you like the Halloween decorations?
Yeah, I do. What do you think about Halloween decorations here compared to Disneyland?
They're about the same.
Yeah.
Disneyland's got a great big pumpkin.
Yeah.
Okay, a little different. So I thought what we'd do, we'd stop here and take a look. This is Main Street, USA. If you ever get the chance to go to Marceline.
Yeah, I got to go, and it was fantastic.
Okay, so Main Street, USA, Disneyland, Walt Disney World are all sort of patterned after Main Street at Marceline. Now, the exciting thing about Main Street at Marceline is it's 2 blocks in one direction and turn around and come back 2 blocks in the other direction. But if you look, the Main Street buildings where the Emporium is, these 2 sides over here are actually 2 big buildings.
Yeah.
Okay, and they have facades that break them up, and that the architecture is a forced perspective. So the second story is compressed, and then the third story is compressed a little bit more. And if you look at the support columns and that type thing, they're sort of small. If it was a real 3-story building, those support columns would be 3 or 4 times the size that they are. So what you're getting is a subliminal feeling larger as a person as you're walking down Main Street.
Absolutely.
If you sort of close your eyes when you're on Main Street, and you'll get a little bit of a whiff of a horse smell, and if the popcorn machine's going, you'll get that popcorn smell, and that and the background music in the morning is usually fairly lively. The background music in the evening are sort of a little slower, and as let people go out. If you really look at it, I think Walt had the first enclosed mall around the area. So those 4 buildings, and then the second story that's out of the guest area are office spaces. And in turn, there are people listed on the windows as businesses, and I have one of those windows above the cinema on the right-hand side. It's Sawyer Painting Company, Tom Nabbe, proprietor.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see that.
Okay, so like I say, you sort of tie the fact that you had to park your car, you had to get transported into the park by some sort of so that's slowly disconnecting you from the daily humbug and transition from all those worries that you have, and get you into that magic kingdom. Okay, and that's what the art directors wanted to pull together and handle. Now, Disneyland's a little different. Walt Disney World has 8 acres of basement underneath it. And if we look down Main Street, there are a lot of trees on Main Street. Well, they're actually planted in a planter. Okay, and in turn, through the years, they've changed the trees out because they get too big. And it blocks became visual intrusions of people trying to take pictures of that.
It's just something you never really think about. It's pretty cool.
The same thing down at the hub when we get down there. The trees were at the hub. They've pulled those out, put in a lot smaller trees. They also took the Swan Boat canal out and made more guest area to get in and around, which is very good during parade times.
Sure.
So let's cruise on down Main Street, and we'll stop. Probably be better to
go around. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thanks to those of you who are just joining us here live from Magic Kingdom. Yes, we are live with Disney legend Tom Nabbe, and you're hearing a lot of the stories of kind of the history of Magic Kingdom, Tom's history here in Orlando and in the parks, and as Tom was talking about earlier, his start over in Disneyland, which we'll get into more of later on as we head further back into the park. But some incredible stories, and it's not every day that you get to even speak with someone who interacted and knew Walt. And Tom is one of the few people that I've been able to have the pleasure of meeting and spending time with that knew Walt and had a relationship with him, and that's it's really cool. And I know we'll get into more of that here in a little while. But just walking down Main Street USA here is so awesome.
Okay, we're opposite the cinema.
Okay, yep.
Okay. And I want you to really appreciate my window.
Yeah, this is a good location for it.
A lot of people think that everybody that has a window is a legend. That's not true.
Okay.
Okay, and not all legends have windows.
Yeah.
Windows are more associated with people that were involved in the development of the parks.
Got it.
Okay.
So when did you get your window here on Main Street?
Got it in 03 when I retired. A couple months after I retired.
After was officially 48 years.
Well, the way the company counts it is 47.
47.
The way I count it is 48.
Got it.
Because they don't give me credit for the first year that I worked for a contractor.
Got it.
A lessee.
Okay.
I didn't go on the payroll until June 18th, 1956.
Got it. All right, guys. So if you've not seen Tom's window before, here it is. So if you're on Main Street, you look, it's so easy to find because it's right above the cinema. And I gotta say, it's one of the nicest looking windows on Main Street too. It's got the most like gold. It's all shiny. And there it is. It is the Sawyer painting or fence painting company. And there it is, Tom Nabbe, proprietor. So cool. That had to be awesome. Like getting the Disney Legend Award is really cool, but then having your name on a window in Main Street has to be just so cool. Knowing that that's here forever.
Oh yeah, Cory, you're so complimentary.
It's so awesome. I mean, I couldn't imagine the feeling of getting that call going, "Hey Tom, we're gonna put your name on a window on Main Street." That's so awesome.
One thing about walking down Main Street USA, Walt Disney World versus Main Street USA Disneyland is you can see the castle the minute you enter.
Yeah.
Okay. At Disneyland, you got to get almost to Cook Corner.
Yeah, you do.
Before you see the castle.
Yeah, but I love seeing, I've been to Disneyland multiple times with people for their first time, and I love seeing their reaction when they walk in. They're like, what is going on with this castle?
Well, one of the things here, and there's always change, is this used to be Center Street. It used to go a street on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they closed off one side of Center Street and increased merchandise.
Do you know when they closed that? It was early on, right?
Yeah, it was back when Paul Presser was in.
Okay.
Okay, so that time frame. Got it.
It's opened again.
It was before my time. Let's say that, because I don't ever remember that.
Yeah, it had to be in the early mid '80s.
Yeah. I've got multiple people in the stream saying, hi, Tom. Thanks so much, Tom, for being here and doing this. Everyone's very excited to hear your stories today. And we currently have over 400 people watching live from all over.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, this is guys. You're getting a private tour down Main Street with Disney legend Tom Nabbe right from your living room. So that's pretty awesome.
Okay, and again, the forced perspective, the windows.
I don't know if I've ever seen that window open up there, but there's one actually open.
At night, there's shadows and that type thing in it.
Yeah. And guys, those of you in the stream, just want to again remind you about Tom's book. I know some of you are just joining us, but go check it out. It's pinned in the comments here. If you're not international and you're here in the States, buy it from his website, get it personalized to you, and you'll have an autographed book by a Disney legend. If you're international, jump over on Amazon and pick it up there. Also, I just want to check in with those of you here in the chat just to make sure you're able to hear Tom okay. I haven't heard any complaints, so it seems like that's going pretty well. So let me know if there's anything that I can change to make it better.
Okay, Cory, we're getting down to the hub. Used to be the swan boats on either side here.
The swan boats.
Yeah,
yep.
They got filled in and moved into walkways and that type thing. It gives a lot more pedestrian access in and out of the park.
Sure.
At parade times, it used to get quite congested here. Now people can bypass.
Got it. So as we're walking through here, Tom, do you remember kind of your first time walking through here, and what condition was the park in? Like what stage of construction at that time?
Main Street was still, the trolley tracks were just being installed.
Okay.
Most of it was still dirt.
Main Street was still dirt?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
The sidewalks were pretty much starting to get closed in.
Okay.
And prep. The facades.
We got a nice loud spot now. You can't hear now? Okay. I have to move away from the speaker. Gotta go over here.
All right.
It gets very loud when these shows are going on.
Right, we'll one down and see if we can get out of the show area.
We'll go around this way. Is that where you wanted to head next? Is this direction or this direction?
If we get over here, is it any better?
Yeah, past the speakers, it's better. All right, guys, hang in there. We're gonna get somewhere where you can hear Tom better than we can right now. Did you want to go that way or this way? Which?
I'm gonna talk to Dad and go this way.
Okay, let's stand over here then a little further. These speakers are so loud. All right, we got a break in the music now. All right, Tom.
Okay, Adventureland. Actually, when we opened the park in '71, the Jungle Cruise was pretty much the only attraction there, and Sunshine Tree, the Tiki Rook. So very little bit there, but I just want to comment that the Jungle Cruise was one of Walt's most favorite attractions,
yeah.
And he was very attached to that attraction. Anytime he went to Disneyland, he rode the Jungle Cruise.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and I was a Jungle Cruise operator, and my son was a Jungle Cruise operator.
Your son was too. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was at Disneyland, and my son was at Walt Disney World.
That's so cool. So those of you who know Tom's history, we're going to talk about, of course, Tom Sawyer Island here in a few, but after being on Tom Sawyer Island, that was one of Tom's first ride operator jobs, was a Jungle Cruise skipper. We got Pete tuning in. He's watching live from Wales, where it's 3:15 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Brian says, how old is Tom? Tom is 79 years old. And I gotta say, like told him before the stream, getting around like a champ here in Magic Kingdom. So we got a good question in the chat, Tom, that people wanted to know, because you worked in the park so long, worked for the company so long, I know the answer, but I'll let you tell. Does that get you a lifetime pass to Walt Disney World?
Well, any cast member that puts in 15 years. 15. Yeah, gets a pass. Okay, a legend gets a little different pass.
Special, yeah.
But yes, I have a pass to go to the parks.
That's so cool.
Along that line, we're in a transition area. If you get into Walt was into circuses a little bit, so you sort of got to look at Main Street like the midway going into the circus, and that's probably way before your time too. Yeah. When the circus used to come to town. Yeah. And that type of thing, but it was to go down the midway, and then it would break off into various areas, the menagerie, and then the main show building, and that. The other thing is they wanted to develop only about 3 to 4 decisions. Okay, so when you get to the hub, you got to make a decision on what direction you're going to go. You're going to go into Adventureland, or into Liberty Square, or into Fantasyland, or into Tomorrowland. Okay, and Americans tend to travel to the right. Europeans tend to travel to the left.
That's interesting, isn't it? It's
so a lot of times you can look at people in line and go, oh, you're from the UK, aren't you? Because they're going in on the left-hand side. Okay, we're going to go across the Atlantic here. It's actually a bridge, but we're going to go across the Atlantic to colonial America.
Got it.
Okay,
let's do it.
If we look at the architecture, okay, and you start looking at the buildings, and you look at the shutters on the building, you look at the construction, brick, milled lumber, the shutters are sort of at an angle, and the reason being,
I never noticed that,
is a lot of them were made out of leather or wrought iron, so they weren't real square. Yeah. And if we look at it, we'll see some of the window panes will be distorted because of the first glass wasn't a real flat layout of it.
That's very cool.
And subliminally, there are dates on some of the buildings. So you don't really see it, but you see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello. How you doing, man? Good, how are you? Fantastic. Same. Okay. Things come and go. Shops come and go. So some of these shops have gone through different transition. This one here on the left used to be a perfumery and antique shop.
And now it's the Christmas shop.
Yes. Okay, so if you sort of look at the windows and
yeah, I've never really noticed that, how a lot of the shutters are not straight. They're at angles, just little details that I've never really paid that close attention to.
Okay, the Liberty Tree actually came, it was on a property down by 192 in the North-South Road.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And what they did with it is they put a pin right through it.
Yeah.
Okay, dug around it, okay, let it sit for a while, and then took the tree ball and everything up and moved it from there to here.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
A little history behind the Liberty Tree.
Yeah.
It's down on 192.
Okay. On Hall of Presidents, you see the date up on the top.
1787.
Okay. Yeah. subliminally you probably wouldn't have noticed that.
Mm-hmm. No, I've never noticed it. It's funny. There's a lot of little details. There's something with the lanterns too that they turn on for the original colonies, and the order each lantern represents. I don't know if you know this, Tom. I heard this recently. I never paid attention, but they turn on each separately for each of the original colonies every night, and I never knew that.
I never knew that either. Okay, so on Main Street we saw the transition from gas to electric, from horse-drawn to gasoline vehicles. All that stuff was going on. So that's also playing in that subliminal experience of making that and getting you situated. Architectural, in turn, because it's East Coast United States, and what you're seeing is lapboard finished materials, that type thing. The Haunted Mansion is actually from John Hench, one of the movies he did, and it was located on the upper Hudson River Valley area. Okay, we're going to make a left down here.
So someone asked, I think the question would be, is there since you've been involved, since the park was being built, is there something from the past that's no longer here that you wish was still here?
Oh, one attraction I used to love at Disneyland was the flying saucers.
The flying saucers?
Yeah.
The old Bob Gurr attraction.
Yeah, and that was in Tomorrowland, and the problem with it was down more than it was up, because it was affected by atmospheric pressure. If a low cloud came over, it would drop the table. And
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it was very weight oriented. So if you weighed over 220, you wouldn't go anywhere. If you were under 100 pounds, you'd sit there and bounce up and down. But I loved the attraction.
Oh, I'm sure it was something different.
So we're going to be coming up on the Missouri here in a minute, and the Missouri dumps into the Mississippi. So I just
got it
to feel that transition.
Yeah, I feel like these transitions I'm appreciating and realizing much more with you talking about it. Even though I've walked through here hundreds, if not thousands, of times, and never appreciated to that level of detail. Miss Flipper in the chat says, just ordered Tom's book. I love this. Well, thank you very much, Miss Flipper, and I hope you enjoy the book.
Yeah, it's a quick read, a short story by a short author.
It just clicked for me. Sorry, Tom, I'm a bit slow. Tom says it's a short read by a short author.
Okay, this is another major transition.
Okay. Someone says, which do you feel has more character, Liberty Square or New Orleans Square?
New Orleans Square, I think.
Yeah, I love New Orleans Square. That's probably my favorite area in all of Disneyland.
Okay, so we just crossed the Missouri.
Okay.
I don't know if you noticed it when we went over it, but the water flowing into the Mississippi. Okay, so if you were at Disneyland, you'd be going into Frontierland through the stockade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here at Walt Disney World, you come in to Liberty Square and you transition across the country, and we are now in the Missouri area. And if you look at the architecture now, the architecture changes.
Yeah.
Okay, changes in the log cabin, a lot of flagstone, a lot of adobe, that type of Did everybody enjoy that? And all the railings and everything are basically pre-logs
Yeah.
versus the finished pillars that you see in Liberty Square. Okay, so as you went down through Frontierland, then we started running out of space and things started to get developed. So Big Thunder was probably the last sort of themed attraction in Frontierland. And then you got into Splash Mountain, and then you got into Star Wars area. So it's at Disneyland. So here, God, I haven't been back in that area in a long time, so I can't tell you exactly what's there.
It's not really changed a lot. It's Splash Mountain and then Thunder Mountain, and it ends.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the train station back there, but that's been closed for a long time too.
Okay, and again, if you look above the saloon, you'll see a date.
Oh, 1878 above the saloon. Yeah. Again, something I've never paid attention to.
So in turn, you see it, but you don't see it.
Yeah.
Okay. And there wasn't a transition area between Country Bear and Adventureland, and we opened that up in the late '80s, so people could get to and from along that area. So I thought maybe we head back down and go back out and into Fantasyland.
Okay. Do you want to stop and talk here at Tom Sawyer? Just kind of over here on the dock?
If you want to do that.
Oh yeah. No, how could we come this close and not talk about Tom Sawyer Island? Maybe there's a bench over here we could sit on for a moment.
Okay, this whole area in here is all added on new since I've been back in this area.
Yeah.
For bypass for the parade, used to get very much isolated, and you couldn't move.
Yeah.
Through the parade time.
Isn't there a bench on this thing, Steve? Do you know? No, there's not. Okay. All right. Well, we'll get a little history.
Blocking your shot. Okay.
A little history here about how Tom got all started from the beginning.
Well, yes and no. Okay, so I think I talked about earlier that I was the supervisor on the monorail system when we opened. Right after we opened and started to get caught up and with the transportation system, the decision was made to expand some of the attractions in the park. And the decision was that Frontierland needed more capacity, more attractions. So they decided to build Tom Sawyer's Island in 1972. And we opened Tom Sawyer's Island May 20th, 1973. Now, Tom Sawyer's Island at Disneyland opened in June 16th of 1956. Okay, and if you see any of the publicity shots from that, the Becky Thatcher and Tom Sawyer there are the winners of the Hannibal Tom Sawyer and Becky Thatcher contest. That's not me.
Yeah.
My hire date is on June 18th, so I got hired 2 days after the park was opened up. Okay, so when the decision was made to make Tom Sawyer's Island here, I had some sort of background and an experience, and I sort of developed into a little bit of a nuts and bolts guy from developing the monorail system and getting that going. Okay, and now new attraction. So I moved into Frontierland Liberty Square when we built the Richard F. Irvine, which was the second steamboat, and Tom Sawyer's Island. Tom Sawyer's Island here is a little more elaborate than Tom Sawyer's Island at Disneyland.
It is.
But it has so much of the same elements. Harper's Mill, the grist mill. You got the cave. I don't think it's Indian Joe's cave here. It could be. You got the mystery tunnel. Got the suspended bridge. It's actually two islands that are tied together. Okay, and Fort Wilderness over on the far side. And
but I think we never had a treehouse here. But you have the treehouse in Disneyland.
Yes.
And for those of you who don't know, it was Tom's idea.
Yeah, thou shalt not are correct, but but yeah, Walt asked me on a tour of the island that we were walking around, and he said, you know, Tom, what does the island need? And at that time we had a platform, and it was called Lookout Point. And I told Walt, I said, you know, we need a tree house, and we need an escape tunnel from Fort Wilderness. And when it came up from its rehab, we had a tree house, we had an escape tunnel from Fort Wilderness.
That's so cool.
We had Teeter-Totter Rock, Merry-Go-Round Rock. I won't take credit for those Castle Rock, but I won't take credit for the rocks, but I will take credit for the tree house and the escape tunnel.
So a couple things before we leave here, because some of you are just, you know, being introduced to Tom for the first time. And so Tom was the original Tom Sawyer at Disneyland on Tom Sawyer Island. So he was hired by Walt directly. But you had to kind of hustle him a bit to keep poking him a bit.
Yeah, the Rivers of America at Disneyland, they had fenced off an area around the fishing piers that were just opposite the Mark Twain landing, and stocked it with bluegill, catfish, and sun perch, and had 50 fishing poles, 25 on each pier. And that was sort of my responsibility, was to build, maintain, and replace the fishing poles. And we had cans nailed to the railing that we had worms in it, and if the guests wanted me to bait their hook, that was one of my jobs. Taking a lot of pictures was another job. And I'd pose either as Tom Sawyer or I'd pose at Huckleberry Finn. I wouldn't pose as Becky Thatcher or Joe. Okay, if you really get into Tom Sawyer's the stories of Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn was the one with the fire red hair and the freckles. Tom Sawyer had sort of sandy blonde hair, sort of like Cory's hair, sandy blonde hair. So for a lot of years, the raft employees used to call me Huck. Okay, so my nickname was Huck for a while.
So back then, you could, like you said, for a short time, you could catch and you would actually clean the fish. Yeah,
it was a catch and clean program. That lasted about 2 months. And then dead fish started showing up in places you didn't want dead fish to show up. So in turn, we went to a catch and release, and I debarbed all the hooks.
That's fun. Hey guys, if you're looking at on the video here, the image I used in the thumbnail is an image of Tom with Walt sitting in Disneyland on a railing right across from Tom Sawyer Island.
Yeah, notice my shoes.
Yeah, and yeah, he never wore shoes. Even when you're working on the island, you never wore shoes. Yeah. That's hilarious. Very cool. I love it. The line that you mentioned too, and you mentioned it in the book, is Walt had told you about the hot dogs. What did he say that was hilarious?
Oh, yeah. He said, you know, why should I hire you? Why don't I put a dummy, or was it a manny? One of the on the island that wouldn't be leaving every 15 minutes for a hot dog and Coke.
That's hilarious. But back then, guys, when you first got hired as Tom Sawyer, I know you were 12 when you were doing the paper route. What age were you hired?
I had just turned 13.
You had just turned 13.
Yeah, my birthday's on the 12th of June, and I was hired on the 18th of June.
The 18th, and got had to take his report card to Walt, make sure that he maintained proper grades.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Walt delegated that to Dick Nunes.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. He checked the first couple, and then after that, it was Dick's responsibility.
Dick Nunes. That's awesome. Are those memories still from, back when you were 12 and 13, still pretty vivid in your mind?
So.
Yeah?
Part of it is because I do a lot of these.
You've kept talking about it for so many years that it reinforces the...
Now, have I embellished it? Maybe.
Maybe a bit, yeah. That's how storytelling is, though.
Yeah, but, a lot of different experiences.
Yeah.
Through my career at Disneyland. When I finally turned 18 and became a ride operator, I worked a Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now it's Halloween time, and Anaheim used to have a Halloween parade. Santa Ana used to have a Christmas parade.
Okay.
Okay, and we would have an involvement in the Halloween parade, and I drove the omnibus.
Several
times with characters and employees from Disneyland on the omnibus.
That's
so that
awesome.
was sort of a neat experience.
Which direction you want to go, Tom? This
Go
way,
to
yeah.
the castle. Look awful busy, wouldn't it?
We got multiple people in here now, Tom, that have purchased books today. So you got some signing to do when you get home.
Well, you got to stop by the post office and pick up some envelopes.
There you go. Hey guys, I see we got more in here now. We got 550 people watching. Guys, if you have not picked up Tom's book, you're not familiar with Tom, again, a fantastic book, Disney Legend, and you can buy it right through his website if you're in the US, and he will personalize it and send it straight to you. And if you're international, you can go buy it right on Amazon. You can also get the Kindle version on Amazon if you're international. So make sure to get it. It's a really fun read. You know the other book that I really like, Tom, because me and you were talking about some books beforehand. We don't have to talk about all of them, but I'll tell you a really good one is Rolly Crump's book.
Oh, I haven't read Rolly.
It's fantastic. It's a lot very artistic, you know, because that's kind of him. But it's a really, really good read.
Yeah, Rolly did the Tower of the Winds.
Yep.
For the New York World's Fair, and a very architecturally art director.
Yes, he is.
Online, and I think he was on Walt's favorite list.
Yeah, I think so.
Little transitions, it's changed. Didn't able to get to Adventureland from here. It was a dead end.
Oh, okay.
Back in the drum and fife area, and they've opened this up as a transition. So a lot better guest movement.
Yeah.
Since the early days.
With more people needs more walkways. Wendy had a question, said, please ask Tom what some of his must-do things are in the parks now. It doesn't have to be attractions, but when you visit the parks, is there something that you just have to go do? Could be a snack that you like to eat. Could be anything like that.
I like the Mickey bars.
You like the Mickey bars?
Yeah.
Like everyone loves Mickey bars.
Yeah, Mickey bars. The current fireworks show and castle show is just absolutely outstanding.
So you like Enchantment?
Yeah, I was very, very impressed.
How are your feelings on the one over at Epcot? Harmonious.
You got to be in a specific area. You got to be right around Japan or Italy in order to get the true effect of that show.
Yeah.
Okay, here, as long as you're anywhere that you can see the castle, you can be involved in the fireworks display. Years used to go to Epcot for YG's festival and that type thing.
Yeah.
But now that I'm a grandfather with a 7-year-old granddaughter, we go to the Magic Kingdom a whole lot.
Oh, I'm sure you hear a lot.
Yeah.
So if you missed earlier when the show was going on, guys, we were walking down Main Street making our way here into the hub. Tom was saying, I was asking him if like his first memories of going down Main Street back during the construction phase of Magic Kingdom, and he was talking about how he remembers they were still putting in the rails for the tracks on Main Street, and the roads were still dirt. So pretty amazing just to think back to walking through this property when there were still dirt roads before everything was all sealed up with concrete. It's very, very neat.
The castle is a lot more vivid colors now than it was back originally.
They got all the special 50th stuff going on now too.
Good? Yeah. Thank you. Okay, this again is one of those transition areas where you got to make the decision on what direction you want to go.
Yeah.
And then all the subliminal effects that are occurring. One of the things in the castle forecourt here is the background music. Everybody thinks it's a Wish Upon a Star, but it's actually a dream. Is Wish Your Heart Back. Is the tune in the area. During construction, the murals that we'll see here in just a little bit, we had to cover them up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the construction workers got so enamored with them that they would stand in front of the murals, and we lost a lot of productivity.
That's funny.
There are actually 7 panels in here that tell the story of Cinderella.
Very cool. They're just amazing. They are, and you know, so far too many times I walk through here and I don't take the time to appreciate them, you know, as much as you probably should, because they are unbelievably detailed.
It's all Italian tile and glass.
It's beautiful.
Millions of tiles.
Have you been to the Dream Suite here in the castle?
I have not been in the suite.
Yeah.
It used to be the PBX operator.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, years ago. Okay, and turn now. We're in Fantasyland again. All the architecture going along there on the various shops and tie into various cartoons and movies. And so, you know, you got Toad Hall that's around the corner.
Yeah. I miss that. I miss it so much. If we could have one attraction back here that we lost that's still in Disneyland, it would be Mr. Toad's.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
So someone asked in the chat, and I know the answer to this one too, but I'll let you talk about it for a minute. Someone asked if you had any involvement in the development of Epcot originally.
Yeah. Well, other than I work for PICO.
Yeah.
PICO's an acronym for Project Installation Coordination Office. And I thought I was going to be a pavilion coordinator. A gentleman named Orlando Ferrani that worked at WED, WDI now.
Yeah.
Put together a group to build New York World's Fair. And what they did is they pulled people out of the operating area. Okay, they in turn assigned them to the construction as gophers, helpers, whatever. And that's where the PICO development was. And they go through the construction, go through the education of new employees, and then in turn manage that.
Sure.
Okay, and that's what I thought I was going to do for Epcot, but my boss at that time frame was doing Burgess and Sullivan, and they wanted me to run a warehouse in Orlando Central Park for OFI, owner furnished item. So about $400 million with owner furnished items.
That's unbelievable.
Through the warehouse. Now it either went into the warehouse for storage or it went for direct delivery to the project.
Yeah.
Okay, and I had people in the warehouse that meet truck drivers, and I had people on site who would meet and greet the truck drivers and make sure that whatever was arriving got delivered to the proper location. Okay, and that's where I sort of made a career transition from operations into support and warehousing was right after we opened Epcot.
That's very cool. Yeah, I know you had talked about in the book, I think, or I don't remember if it's in the book or you just told me, was about getting all of the scenes and animatronics for Spaceship Earth.
Yeah.
And getting them there. There's a story about him being like stuck on a truck or trying to get him from the truck to the warehouse.
Well, you had to have a game plan A, and a game plan B, and then game plan C. Well, Spaceship ended up game plan D. It was running behind in construction of getting the skin put on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were going to deliver the sets as they were needed. Okay, well, it turned they had to expedite that, so they left a hole in the bottom, and we delivered the last set to be installed first.
Got it.
Okay, and then we took it all the way up to the top and staged it in sequence all the way down. So in turn, then the first set had to come all the way down the track. And the track in Spaceship Earth is a big helix.
Yeah.
And then it opened up, and the top of the building was a projection screen. But yeah, Spaceship Earth was a challenge.
I'm sure.
Now, the one thing here on the carousel is if you look at the panels, okay, the panels also tell the story of Snow White. Okay, so as it's going by,
it's the whole story.
Yeah. And whether your mind's picking it up or not, because how fast it flashes through. And I think the development of Fantasyland here through the years to add more attractions and the way they broke it out transition-wise, going from Fantasyland into Liberty Square and from Fantasyland into Tomorrowland has really improved the guest travel through the area. But in turn, you got the Sword in the Stone. Okay, the one thing at Disneyland, which was always people wanted to know, well, where was Snow White?
Yeah.
Okay, and the whole concept was that you were Snow White. On the ride. Through that. I think that was going to be the original concept on Tom Sawyer's Island, but I think Walt. I talked him into actually having Tom Sawyer. Okay, and that's how I got hired. Along that line. Then we go back out to Tomorrowland.
Okay, sounds good. You want to go this way or go around? This way? Yeah, this way. So I think back here, so the new Fantasyland back here, where Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is and all that. You worked on, I don't know if it was here or in Disneyland, where you had something to do with 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea originally, correct? It was here.
Yeah.
What was your involvement with that?
Yeah, Disneyland doesn't have 20,000 leagues.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's right. They got the submarine stuff.
Yeah, they got the submarines. The problem with 20K, let's get in the shade.
Yeah.
The problem with 20K.
You want to sit over here for a minute?
Sure.
You can sit and talk. Oh, actually, there's a bench right here.
Okay, whichever wherever you want to go.
I'm going to sit down and take a little break here for a few minutes, guys, before we head over into Tomorrowland. It feels great here in the shade. Oh, man.
See what happens when somebody reads the book, they know all my stories.
Yeah.
And going, well, you got to tell this story.
Yeah. It's hard because I got so many favorites.
Tell that story.
Yeah.
Okay, so in turn, I think I said earlier that I ended up sort of a nuts and bolts guy. And so we finished building Tom Sawyer's Island, opened it in 1973, and I got transferred to Tomorrowland. And there were very few attractions in Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
And so we started building the Wedway, Gene Carousel of Progress in Space Mountain. Okay, and I'm going to talk that a little bit when we get over there. But when that project finished, the decision was to rehab 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So I went from Monorail to Frontierland to Tomorrowland and from Tomorrowland I went to Fantasyland.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and when the art directors first came down here in the early '70s time frame, they all went to Silver Springs. They were just impressed with the pristine clarity of the water.
So beautiful,
coming out of the aquifer and that type thing. So the decision was not to chlorinate and filter the water coming into 20,000 lakes.
Wow.
It was to pump out of the aquifer into 20,000 lakes, and then the water would be pumped in, and then it went from there into the moat around the castle.
Oh, okay.
And from the moat around the castle, it went into the Jungle Cruise, and from the Jungle Cruise, it went into Rivers of America. We crossed it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
It was a big white Missouri.
Yeah.
Okay, and from the Rivers of America, go down Lifeboat Channel into the Seven Seas Lagoon, and then get assimilated across the property in the 55 miles of drainage canals that we put in before opening.
Got it.
Okay, well, that was a great thought, but not all great thoughts work out, and the water wasn't moving fast enough, and there were some stagnant areas, and what happened through the years is mold and algae started growing in 20,000 lakes, and the divers had to go down on a daily basis and scrub the mermaids down and the fish and the portholes on the submarine. So the decision in 1975 was to shut down 20K, totally rehab the entire attraction, put in a filtration system, and isolate it from that flow that I talked about earlier, and chlorinate it. Okay, and so we opened that back up in 1975.
Wow.
At that time frame, then I got transferred back to Frontierland Liberty Square, okay, to build Big Thunder. The advantage I had there was that Big Thunder had been built at Disneyland. So I had the opportunity to go out to Disneyland and trade and operate on Big Thunder at Disneyland.
Like in preparation for opening it here.
Yeah, and then after we opened Big Thunder in '79, I ended up getting the job that I talked about in Epcot.
Yeah.
Okay, which was another nuts and bolts thing. And I like the warehouse system, and when we went through a major restructure in '84 after phase 2 of Epcot, I had the opportunity to stay in distribution services and warehousing, and I did that for the last 22 years of my career.
Yeah, so cool. So much history. Steve went to get us some water.
Oh.
we sent him to fetch water before we head into Fantasyland. Do you remember, kind of going back to the Walt stuff and talking about Main Street, do you remember your last interaction with Walt?
Yeah, it was late '62, early '63. It was after before I went into the Marine Corps, and realized that Mary Poppins generated the revenue to buy the land in Florida. So by mid-'60s, right after New York World's Fair, Walt and Roy had bought all the property here in Florida, and they started training people. But I was in the port.
Oh, there you go.
I'll make it this one. Where was that conversation?
About the World's Fair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a training ground, and to look at the demographics, is only about 13% of the people that went to Disneyland came from west of the Mississippi to see how Disney attractions would be enjoyed by people on the East Coast. Okay, and it was very the lemon track was very popular, and so then they started looking for land, and there was a lot of places that they would look at: St. Louis, New York, and they finally settled looking here in Florida. I say, thank God for Mary Poppins. If you go back and look at Disney history, it's some of the major films. The Snow White built the studio. Okay, pretty much the other shows built Disneyland, and then Mary Poppins built Walt Disney World. So that was a very good flick. I was in the Marine Corps when Walt passed in '66, and I didn't get out until '68.
Got it.
Went back to Disneyland. Started working as a attraction ride operator at Disneyland. I had dreams of grandeur of going back to school. The Marine Corps had made me an aviation radar repairman, and I went back to school on a GI Bill to be an electronical engineer. And about a year and a half into that, they were doing interviews for people who come to Florida, and I realized I wasn't going to be a fantastic electronical engineer. That I really wanted to be in management, rides, and attractions, and I interviewed and got the job offer to come here. I don't think I had mentioned earlier that at Disneyland I didn't work the monorail system because I wasn't tall enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all monorail operators had to be 6 foot tall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they were run by Rail because they were under a real tight budget, so they kept their costumes fairly restricted.
So it was all about the costume, is it?
Yeah. So I was working for one of my mentors, Pete Crimmings, and he says, Tom, I want you to come to Florida to open the monorail system. I said, Pete, I never worked a monorail system. He says, yeah, I know. We'll train you. Okay, so
that's cool.
For about a year before I came to Florida, I ended up working on the monorail system, and they did alter a costume for me. And I remember leaving wardrobe, looking in the full-length mirror in wardrobe, and it was back with the Captain America costume, and it was the red, white, and blue costume, and I looked like this little red, white, and blue barrel with a hat. So I knew very truthfully why they wanted the monorail operators to be taller.
That's hilarious.
Along that line. But yeah, I learned how to operate the monorail. The difference in the monorails at Disneyland is they only travel in one direction. They can back up, but very slowly.
Yeah.
At Walt Disney World, they can travel in either direction.
Sure.
Along that line.
Very cool.
Where are we in here? We're going to go look a little bit at Tomorrowland. And talk a little bit of what the expansion was in that. Okay?
You ready to make your way over there?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Again, thank you to all in the chat who've been buying books. I just keep seeing them going by that they're buying books, Tom. So I asked Tom, how many books do you have on hand? And I think he said he had around 50 right now on hand. So make sure you get your book while you can.
Yeah, I'll end up with writer's cramp.
He's like, I said I'd come do this. I didn't say I'd sign books for days.
Well, I do a lot of Disneyana stuff. And usually after I do those, I end up selling, maybe a half dozen books or so.
Sure. The first time I actually saw Tom, the first time someone asked the first time I met you was actually Tom wasn't speaking at, but was a guest at the Dreaming Tree Gala in Epcot. And this was for the Walt Disney Hometown Museum in Marceline. So they do this gala every year, and it was in Epcot. And I remember that night because that was also I think it was one of the first nights that they played Epcot Forever for the first time. So after Illuminations ended and they had that in-between show, Epcot Forever. And I remember you were there because they invited you and you were going to be speaking at the next Dreaming Tree Gala that was going to be in Marceline.
Yeah, that was going to be there.
And so got to meet Tom there, and then went out and watched. I remember with Tom and everyone went out and watched Epcot Forever for the first time, which was really cool to be there with not only Tom but with some other historic Disney animators. It was actually a really cool time. So I had got introduced to Tom there and did not know his full story. And once I started researching more and finding more out about his history, I was fascinated. And then that's when I reached out to Tom during the pandemic to connect and do an interview. Since we were both stuck at home anyway, we had nothing to do.
Yeah, I was their keynote speaker last year.
Because it got postponed, right? Because of the pandemic.
Yeah, and the weather changed. It was an outside event, and it was cold.
Was it cold?
Yeah.
So if you guys have never been to Marceline, it really is a special place. I mean, it's a good drive from Kansas City, but if you get a chance to go out there, it is very cool. And they're building, and I think they said they've got the tracks now on the pads out there for reconstructing Midgetopia there at the museum. So that's gonna be awesome. You get the ability to go ride the original Walt Disney Midgetopia, which is so cool.
Yeah. One thing here, the teacups in Disneyland isn't covered.
Yeah.
The teacups here are covered. We're passing what used to be the Tomorrowland Terrace, and if you look at volume, it was equivalent to about 14 McDonald's.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think I heard the stat one time that still today, Cosmic Rays is the busiest, or they sell the most food out of any fast food restaurant in the world for a single location, which is unbelievable.
Okay, when in 1971, when the park opened, it was just the Grand Prix Raceway, Flight to the Moon, Circle Vision, and the Skyway were the only attractions in Tomorrowland.
And the one that I never got to ride that I wish I could, if I could go back right now and ride any of those, it would be Flight to the Moon. I'd love to just go be a part of that.
Okay, go see Mr. Johnson.
I always grew up being a big space fan. I like, as a kid, that was my goal, was I was going to grow up and be an astronaut. And so anything space related, I love it so much.
Yeah. Did you go to space camp?
I did go to space camp when I was younger.
Yeah, my son went to space camp.
Did he? Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun experience.
Yeah. And we also sent him to World Jamboree.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was the year he got his eagle as a scout.
That's very cool.
Okay, so if you sort of visualize Tomorrowland, and you really have to ask yourself, if you build Tomorrowland, is it now Yesterdayland?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, tried to put into Tomorrowland those things that were new and unusual.
Sure.
John Hench was the architect for this area, so it's very a monolithic architecture and pretty much a very sterile in the color and the environment. Now, Disneyland had the People Mover. Walt Disney World has the People Mover, but this is a wedway.
Yeah.
And it has linear induction motors, where Disneyland was a friction drive.
Okay.
system.
I never realized they were different. In my mind, I guess I always thought they were the same ride system.
Yeah. Yeah, very different.
I don't know what that.
Okay. We're getting to the center of Tomorrowland. And what you take is the Disneyland Astrojets, now move it up and put it on top, a 3-story
Yeah.
building, and everybody wants to ride the Astrojets.
Yeah, exactly, because they're higher.
When it was ground level, nobody really had an interest. We're going to go to the right.
I'll go to the right. Yeah, I remember the first time I was in Disneyland, I'm like, wait a minute, they're like sitting on the ground.
Yeah. Okay.
Will the Disneyland People Mover ever run again? Someone asked. I've heard a lot of rumors about that being something that gets brought back at some point, but I don't know.
It may.
Yeah.
Most of the tracks still there. They've tried to revive it a couple times, but it may come back in. Okay, what we're looking at here is when Tomorrowland opened up, it was actually a picture window here. Okay, you can see the Contemporary Hotel. Now, since then, things have grown up around. But when Tomorrowland first opened up, when you came in, you would see the Contemporary Hotel. And so it
tied right into it. Yeah.
Interred. The Wedway was rather interesting. On at Space Mountain, we had to shut down the train to build a tunnel to go Space Mountain. So actually, Space Mountain is built outside the berm. And a lot of the attractions in Frontierland built outside the berm, and Fantasyland are built outside the berm. So the facade is inside the park, but the actual show building is outside.
Yeah. So with Space Mountain, you had a lot to do with Space Mountain.
Yeah, actually, my responsibility was more for Starjets, Wedway, and Carousel of Progress.
Okay.
My manager at that time was Ron Heminger, and my ops manager was Ron Gerber. They were more involved in Space Mountain.
Got it.
But did I get involved in Space Mountain? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And we opened Space Mountain in January of 1973.
Everyone says, I've seen multiple times that they're so impressed with how well you remember all these dates. Like, the dates are like burned in your brain, which is great.
Sort of, but part of it is going back to going, what was I doing? Where was I?
Yeah.
And what were we doing?
Yeah, exactly.
And the involvement.
So the involvement in Carousel of Progress. So you're part of the team that I guess organized bringing that from Disneyland to here.
We had pretty much did that. WDI now,
did that,
moved that in, and the original Carousel of Progress from the fair went to Disneyland.
Got it.
This one was a remake.
Got it.
And what it is, it's actually it sits on two railroad tracks. Okay, and it's six segments building. And the whole building rotates on this railroad track.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I've always said that if there's any attraction I could go backstage in, I'd love to go into the center of Carousel of Progress and be like in the middle looking all around at like the different scenes. It would be a really cool place.
Well, in turn, everybody, the tunnel in Tomorrowland didn't exist when we opened.
Okay,
so we built the tunnel in '73 when we worked on the construction in this area. The other thing that's interesting on Tomorrowland was on the tail end of the construction schedule.
Okay,
and they find when they get in here is that there are areas where the concrete is 3 and 4 feet deep. They started at the mountains at the beginning and poured concrete.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't backfill. They didn't have any time to
just
backfill.
filled it in.
Okay, so at times you sort of look and things don't look exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you started to dig in here, you would find concrete maybe 2.5, 3
And you know what? It's very interesting you say that because, Tomorrowland's notorious for flooding. And it's probably part of the reason why. There's just is concrete everywhere with nowhere for the water to get out.
It's what you would call one gigantic monolithic pour.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and the monolithic pour is you start pouring concrete and you don't stop until you're finished, and it ties together.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay, now we have St. Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do you want to?
Anything else you feel you want to share on stream? I've really appreciated the time today. You've gone over a lot. We've done a full circle tour of Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
We were asked, let's walk over here just to sit for a minute, and we'll end the stream over here.
We can get around out of the...
Yeah, we can get around. Maybe go to where the little seating area is, where you can see the castle.
Sure.
Over here. And guys, as we wind down the stream here in our time today with Mr. Tom Nabbe, Disney Legend, again, make sure if you have not purchased Tom's book that you go purchase Tom's book. I know it means a lot to him because at Tom's point in his career, he loves sharing these stories, and you can tell when he's here talking to us how much he enjoys being able to share his history and his career. And you can get all those details in his book. And as a Disney fan, why would you not want to have an autographed book from a Disney legend? It's amazing. So if you're in the U.S., buy it from his website there and get it personalized to you, or give it as a gift. We got the holidays coming up too. Buy a couple copies for friends and get those personalized for them for Christmas. And then if you're outside of the U.S., you're best buying it on Amazon, and then you can get it shipped to you anywhere. But really, really cool, and such an amazing time to spend with Tom here today. I hope you guys learned something new about the park, little tidbits that you may not have known before, that now makes you look at things a little bit different. I already saw some of you in the stream saying, oh, I'm going to be here in a couple weeks, and I'm gonna look at that when I'm there. I'm going to think about that differently, and that's really cool. That's what it's all about.
Back at opening, Cory, there used to be two big fountains on either side. The problem being is the wind would blow the water over here and drench the guests, so they slowly migrated out.
Get rid of them. Everyone's getting wet. Just got 2 more people said that they just bought the book. So you're gonna have some orders when you get home, Tom.
My daughter-in-law has enhanced that website a little bit.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Let's take a break.
Yep, right here. And I think earlier, what I'd like to end with, Thomas, I had asked, and I think I think I got you sidetracked on a different conversation because I was just asking too many things. But we were talking about kind of, so this was before you went off in the service, and Walt passed away while you were away. But before that, I think you have a story about your last interaction with Walt.
Oh.
So I'd like to hear that and share it with the stream.
Yeah. In the wintertime, I worked the Jungle Cruise. In the summertime, I worked as a raft operator.
Got it.
Okay, and I was in Frontierland, and one of the things that was very conscious when Walt was in the park to watch and see if he was getting totally inundated for autographs. And if he was, you'd approach Walt and ask him, do you want to go backstage? And he'd say yes or no.
Yeah.
And it was right in front of the malt shop, Oaks Tavern area, and Walt was getting pretty inundated with people wanting autographs, and asked him if he wanted to go backstage. And so we went through the gate out of there into the break area. And I told myself, well, I don't know if you remember me or not, but you hired me to be Tom Sawyer. And he says, oh, yeah, you just have to bring your report card in, how you doing, that type thing. So that was pretty much the last.
And you were how old at that point?
At 22.
Wow.
I'd have to go through.
So that's like 10 years after you first met him.
Yeah. So that would put Walt would have been, when I first met Walt, he'd been 55. That would put Walt right around 65, and just prior to the time that he bought all the land here in Florida and started getting ill.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Tom, for your time today. This has been so much fun. People have enjoyed it. You'll have to go back and watch the stream and read the comments because people have just enjoyed it so much, being able to be here with you today. And it's very generous of you to take your time and come spend it with us here in Magic Kingdom. So thank you.
Cory, you do a good job. The first interview I had with you, I very complimentary of you.
I appreciate
your
that.
Interviewing skills. So
thank you.
That's why I'm very happy. Every once in a while, you run into somebody that wants to do an interview, and they want to do a negative interview. You'll get through it, but it's not as enjoyable as somebody that has the same interest in the park. I remember the guy started out with, you worked for Walt. I understand he was very difficult to work for. Okay. And that's how he started out the interview. And I basically told him, I said, Walt's a perfectionist.
He's a professional.
So if you ever work for a perfectionist, then you know how it would be working for Walt Disney. So.
Sure, and I've heard Bob Gurr talk about it too. People have asked Bob Gurr, because he was really close with Walt, were you and Walt friends? And he very clearly says, no, Walt was my boss. And that's how he kept it. It was a very professional relationship.
Yeah, the old timers tell you, watch Walt's eyebrows.
Yeah.
And when that right eyebrow goes up, you have his attention. And if you got something to say, you better say it, because when it drops back down, then
it's done.
Yeah.
So interesting. Well, guys, again, buy Bob's book if you're interested. It's an awesome read, and it's something amazing to have. Also, I don't know, and you can let me know because I haven't even asked you ahead of time. I know that the DizCon got canceled or postponed to maybe sometime in the first quarter of next year. They haven't announced a date yet. But if they announce that again, this is where you were going to be speaking at DizCon for Gift Kids the World. Yes. So if they do that again, be on the lookout for that. And Bob may be in that.
I think they're shooting for March. Yeah.
So those of you who are already coming, or if you weren't coming, just be on the lookout. When that opens back up, there will be tickets available, and you can come hear Tom's full story. You're going to do a full presentation with your slides and everything, right? Yes.
I think that's what they want, but
okay.
I don't know.
You kind of just do whatever you want to do, probably.
Jeff Barnes can be the moderator.
Okay. Very cool.
I don't know if he wants to use my presentation or his presentation.
Okay, got it. But that'll be fun, and hopefully you guys get a chance to see that in person. But thanks again, Bob. Or Tom. Thanks again, Tom. I've got all these names in my mind now. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone in the chat, for being here with us today. And I guess we'll see you next time. We'll be live not this Thursday, but the following Thursday. So we will be off this coming Thursday, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much, Tom.
Okay.
I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, get a book, get it signed, and again, buy it as a gift for someone. If you don't, or if you've already bought one for yourself, buy it as a gift. Christmas is coming up, and I really appreciate you very, very much, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to bring this to you today and share it with you. It's been so much fun. And I'm going to come in over here right now for you at the castle. I'll be right back. I'm going to end right over here for you guys with the stage show at the castle. Thank you so much for everyone for being here and supporting today's stream. I know it's different. I really wish if there was anything that I could change about the Disney YouTube community is that there was more content created around around the history of Walt Disney World, around the company and the parks, because there's so much amazing history. And I'm so happy that we're able to share this with legends that these stories are so special, and some of them are either stored in the minds of these amazing people, or they've written about them in their books. But you always get a little bit more detail when you talk in person. But thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed, Tom, and we will see you next week, guys, or a week after next. You got it. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.